Okay. So we will start the class. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so I hope you all can see that slide. So first, now we are going to start a theory class for yoga. So you might have be like this, what, why, how. So before we move on to the topic, some of you might have been wondering, what and why theory class for yoga? Is this theory class really needed or must? If you want to do yoga just for physical fitness, say just like any other physical activity like jogging, cycling, or any other sport, then the answer is no. See, on the other hand, if you're kind of curious to know what is yoga, so really is what its origin. For example, you might have even faced this kind of questions when you say from others that you're going to yoga class. They will be asking what type of yoga you do. Or is there a different types of yoga? Some say I do hatha yoga, some say ashtanga yoga. But if you ask them what is ashtanga yoga or hatha yoga, I don't think they will know it. Probably it might be their studio name or something. So we will try to find the answers for all these questions. Okay, so now we are going to move on to today's topic, Vedas, Upanishads, and Darshanas. So these are all very big topics. I don't think we can cover in our lifetime. So, but just we are going to just get an overview of this topic for today. So we will start with Veda first. Why Veda? The simple answer is Veda is knowledge and yoga is its practice. So Veda and yoga are the one. So we'll just see briefly what Veda is. So Vedas derived from verbal root called Vid. So Veda is a knowledge and its root word is Vid, which means to know. So it's a treasure house of all the knowledge. That is, it's a base for all the knowledge. And we'll see the attributes of Vedas. They are Shruti, Apaurushaya, Anadi, and Ananta. Shruti is what is heard. So rishis heard them when they were in the deep meditation. So it cannot be credited to one author. So it is also called Apavarishaya. That means it's not composed by humans. And then Anadi. That means no beginning or no end. You might have heard Adi means beginning and Andam means end. Since it has no end or beginning, it's called Anadi. And Ananta, this is an endless, limitless, eternal. It's always there because it's truth. So this is just a basic gist of what Vedas is. So now we will move on to the next slide. So Vedas is of 4 types. So there are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. Pretty much most of them might be heard. But I'm just going to give you just a brief thing. So Rig Veda is a Vedas of praise. That is, the hymns were mainly of praise to gods that were invoked during Vedic ceremonies for ensuring immediate material needs. And Yajurveda, it's a Vedas of rituals, which are similar to those in Rig Veda and used in rituals again. And it is subdivided into Shukla, that is white Yajurveda, and Krishna, that is black Yajurveda. And Samaveda is the Vedas of melodies, used as songs in various ceremonies. And Atharva Veda, the Vedas of chants. It contains prayers, spells, magical instructions found in tantras, mostly for fulfilling personal desires and material needs of people. Out of all these 4 Vedas, they had almost 100,000 verses and 50 branches respectively. However, we can find only around 20,023 verses in total now. And these has 4 Upavedas. That is, Upavedas is the sub-Vedas of these Vedas. So they are Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Arthashastra. Ayurveda is the science of health and medicine. Dhanurveda is the science of defense, war, and politics. Gandharva Veda is the art of music, dancing, and singing. And Arthashastra is the science of economics and sociology. And again, each Vedas consists of 4 parts. That is Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. So when I say each Veda, that means when I say take for Rig Veda has 4 parts. Samhita, Brahmanika, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. The same way, all 4 Vedas have 4 parts. Samhita hints about the nature of creation, and Brahmanas is the rituals, contains mantras, description, and many different kinds of rituals and ceremonies. And Aranyakas means forest in relation to the forest life, prescribes various kinds of meditations. And Upanishads and Vedanta is a philosophy you all know. Anta means end. So the last portion of Vedas. So that's why it's called Vedanta. So philosophical stories to get more knowledge, to know the nature of soul. Okay, so now we will see the 6 Vedangas. Vedangas is the 6 limbs of Vedas. There are 6 Siksha, that is the phonetics, how to pronounce the Vedic mantras. Vyakarana is the Sanskrit grammar. Chandas is a meter, the poetic stanzas. For example, you might have seen Vishnu Sahasranamam, Bhagavad Gita, each have a different tune and those kind, because it's have a different meters, like Trishta, Panushta. So those consist of Chandas. And Niruktam is an etymology. There is glossary, comment, it's a Vedic dictionary. Jyotisham consists of astronomy and astrology. And Kalpa is, those are ceremonies, those to perform Vedic rituals. So now we will see the Prasthana Traya. So there are 3 different sources of Vedic knowledge. So called Prasthana Traya. So what they are called as Shruti Prasthana, Smriti Prasthana, and Nyaya Prasthana. Shruti, as we heard, saw in Vedas, it is which are directly heard or revealed text. So example is Upanishads. So there are about 180 to 200 Upanishads in total. So in which there are 10 major Upanishads, that Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya Upanishad, Aitreya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, and Mandukya Upanishad. There are so many, but I'm just naming few. And Smriti Prasthana, so which are retold, composed, edited by sages. So these scriptures following the principle of 6 limbs, where we seen that Siksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, 6 limbs, they should follow those rules. Then they come under Smriti Prasthana. Examples are Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Manusmriti, Puranas. And again, Puranas, as you all know, there are 18 Puranas. So Padma Purana, Vishnu Purana, Shiva Purana, Bhagavata Purana, then goes like this, it's an 18. I just name few. And Nyaya Prasthana is, it's a logical text. It's have more logical question and answer kind of things, text. It's called Brahma Sutra. Example is Brahma Sutra. So this is just a brief note, and since the subject is very theoretical and more deep, I don't want to go more into it, but just a basic of it. So now we will move to the essence. So since we starting Vedas and Upanishads, what is the need? What is the essence of doing all this? So we need to know at least the essence of it. So it leads us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. So the essential teaching of Upanishads is the revelation of the highest truth. That is, there is only one reality, there is absolute consciousness, which is separate from our body-mind complex. This is called God, Brahman, self-consciousness, or Atman. You can name it whatever you want, but there is an absolute consciousness that is different from your body and mind. And 4 Mahavakyas, probably you might have heard few of them. Prajnanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, Ayam Atma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. So you might have heard at least 1 or 2 here and there. Prajnanam Brahma is knowledge. The prajna is what Brahman is. This is from Aitreya Upanishad. Tattvamasi, I am that, or that thou art. This is from Chandogya Upanishad. I am Atma Brahma. The self is Brahman. So that is from Mundaka Upanishad. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. So this is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishads. So we pretty much, 3 of them have those Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. So what is Brahman? So we will see Brahman is not the one that comes in that, who creates, not that Brahman. Brahman is the unchanging, infinite, eternal, and transcendental reality, actually, which is a divine ground of all matter, energy, time, space, being, and everything beyond in this universe is what Brahman they are talking about. Spiritual upliftment, the ultimate purpose of life. The spiritual upliftment of the soul is considered to be the only purpose of your human incarnation. So I don't think no other living creatures have that kind of purpose, or what to say. They don't have a sixth sense to think about these things. So the human purpose is for spiritual upliftment. So those are kind of so very dense topics. And now we move on to this topic. Probably from here on, you might make more sense to understand better. So the two main subjects dealt in Prasthanatraya, they are search for reality, quest for happiness. When I say reality, when there is a quest for searching, say for researchers, when there is a curiosity to learn, you will learn more. So that is that is for search for reality, the number one. And the second is quest for happiness. So our activities are always directed towards getting happiness. Pretty much everybody does. So to get more and more happiness, that is sukha prapti, or if we cannot get happiness, at least dukkha nivritti. That means I don't need at least dukkha if I don't get happiness. This instinct is not only for human beings, but almost also for animals as well. So since we all thrive for happiness, now we will analyze what happiness is. Okay, so happiness varies from person to person. What does that mean? Say you may not like the things I like the most, or the things which you like may not be liked by the other person. So liking are highly subjective. So I don't think anybody can deny that first thing. So happiness varies from person to person. Second, happiness through sense object diminishes with repetition. What does this mean? Suppose, say, if I like gulab jamun, so take any example, but I take it as a gulab jamun. First jamun gives me a immense happiness. Okay, when we consume the second, the happiness is reduced. The third or the fourth servings reduces the happiness or thrill. This is the law of diminishing returns. This conclusion is valid not only for eating, drinking, but in all cases of sense enjoyments. For example, you can take it as a watching a movie, hearing a music, anything. I mean, when you keep on repeated, they lose their charm, and saturation is inevitable. So any sense enjoyments, when the repetitions, the enjoyment reduces. So the third one, happiness depends upon the mood of the individual. What does that mean? So even though I like gulab jamun, we don't feel like eating any time of the day. It depends on our mood too. Say if I'm sleeping deeply, in the middle of the night, someone wakes me up and give me eat gulab jamun. I said, no, I want to sleep. So definitely the happiness also depends on the mood of the individual. Happiness varies from community to community. What does that mean? Say for things liked by one community may not be liked by other community. For example, when we went to Gujarat, people were saying that the Shrikhand was the Shrikhand was the ultimate food. The taste wise, they said it's very good. So we wanted to try it out. I don't think I enjoyed it, but they all liked it. So which is hardly liked by people living in Tamil Nadu. So the one community's liking is not liked by the other community. So his happiness is neither in concentration. Say if you like to, some say meditating gives you happiness. When you try to focus on something, so concentration on something forcefully, I don't think this gets happiness either. So that's not happiness either. So what is happiness then? So by this analysis, we can see that a happiness is a state of mind, and that external objects are just an aid to evoke that state of mind. It's an inner state. Satisfaction through winning an award or a word of praise or an act of research accomplishments can also trigger that state of mind. So happiness is within us. Slowing down is a secret. Happiness is silencing the mind. So irrespective, the conclusion is what we have or what we don't have, we live satisfying, happy life. So that is the way of yogic life. So that is the happiness analysis. We just analyze what happiness is. So now at last you see a yoga in slide. So I think you all might be seeing the yoga. So we are into topic now. Shad Darshanas or 6 orthodox schools. So there are 6 orthodox schools. All these accepts Vedas and grew directly out of Vedas. That's why it's called orthodox schools, because they all accept the Vedas as their base knowledge. So these schools, 6 schools, are divided into 3 groups. Nyaya and Vaisheshika as one group, Sankhya and Yoga as one group, Mimamsa and Vedanta as one group. So I'm just going to go a brief one to just explain what's their philosophy and who's the author. And then we are going to see only Sankhya and Yoga in brief. So Vaisheshika, the author is Canada. It's about science of logic and futility of Maya. And the Nyaya, the author is Gautama, and it's about logical quest for God and phases of creation. And Yoga, and the author is Patanjali, practice of meditation and samadhi for renunciation. And Sankhya, the author is Kapila, eliminate physical and mental pains and receive liberations. And Vedanta, the author is Vedavyasa, explains the divine nature of soul, Maya, and creation. And the next is Mimamsa, the author is Jaimini, explains Vedas are eternal and divine. So now we are going to see only Sankhya and Yoga in brief. So now we are going to see the compare and contrast between Sankhya and Yoga. So these two are in groups. So first we will see the comparison and difference between these two. Sankhya means jnana or knowledge. Sage Kapila declares knowledge as a sole or primary means of attaining moksha or liberation. So Sankhya also means number. Since this system has a fixed number of basic cosmic principle as 24 plus 1. So that's why it's also called Sankhya. Sankhya accepts only Purusha. Purusha is the consciousness, the higher consciousness. And Prakriti, the nature, as the fundamental realities and does not accept Ishvara or God. Sankhya does not accept God. And describe the full spectrum of human existence by revealing the basic elements and that make up the macrocosm and microcosm. It teaches about the components of the body, mind, and spirit, from the gross elements that make up the physical body to the more subtle elements of the mind and consciousness. So it is effectively a map of human being. And we will move on to the yoga. Don't worry about it. The subject is too heavy on it. I just want to start from the basics. So you have to know what the origin and where it's yoga is coming from before I go into yoga, asana, pranayama, and all those things. So you just need to know where its origin is. So that's why I'm just going into brief. Yoga, it imposes restriction on diet, sleep, company, behavior, speech, and thought. And yoga is a method of strict discipline. So it should be practiced under careful supervision of an expert. So the practice of yoga removes restlessness of body and mind. It removes impurities of the mind. And aim of yoga is a union of individual soul with the supreme. So yoga system which accept all the principle of Sankhya and also Ishvara or God. So the main difference between Sankhya and yoga is it takes all the principles of Sankhya, and yoga also accepts Ishvara or God. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is the basic text of yoga systems. So now we are going to see the Sankhya elements. The elements of Sankhya. So we saw the Sankhya is a number. Why it's named? Because it has 25 elements. Sankhya state that the individual human being has 25 elements or evolutes that develop progressively out of one another. So learning about these evolutes and their order for a yogi is equivalent of a musician learning music scales. So knowing Sankhya imbues all techniques of yoga, all the asana, pranayama, and meditation. So the body, mind is the instrument that consciousness learns to play. So now we are going to go see the elements of it. Before I just going to stop right here. If you have any, this is a big topic, so I'm just going to spend some time on this. So before I move on, is there any questions or till now? Okay, hope you're not sleeping also. Okay, fine. Okay, so we will move on to the 25 elements of Sankhya. Okay, so in a way, the Sankhya scheme is an inversion of Western model. So there is the evolutes model that the Western world has, right? So this is probably probably the inversion model. So that's the elements. Sankhya have the evolutes model. So just we'll go over one by one. When the man and the matter are just created, the Western world thinks where the man and matter are just created. But in contrast, what Sankhya described is not an act of creation, but a process of evolution originating from the most subtle towards the gross. So we are just going to go one by one. So the first, out of 25 elements, the two are the main source form, which the whole universe evolves. That is the Purusha and Prakriti. Number 1 and 2, you see that Purusha and Prakriti, they are the main source. So what is Purusha and what is Prakriti? Purusha is consciousness, the eternal reality, and the nature is what Prakriti is. So that is pure creative power. And within Prakriti, there are three fundamental forces called Mahagunas. That is Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. Don't worry about those. We will going to go Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva, these gunas, Trigunas, and all those in detail in future classes. So Purusha is the consciousness, Prakriti is the nature, and Prakriti has three Mahagunas, fundamental forces, and from that the rest of the evolutes starts. So from Prakriti there arises three elements of mind. So the mind is of three elements, that is the higher mind, Mahat or Buddhi, number 3, and from there the 4, Ahankara, the lower mind. That is, first we'll see the Mahat is the higher mind. When I say the higher mind, what it does is the first principle of individuation starts there. So that is the intelligence and the discrimination mind. That's what the Mahat is. From there, move on to Ahankara. Ahankara is where the ego, allowing of self-identity. So that's come from Ahankara. It comes to the lower mind. That is the mind, the Manas, number 5. Number 5 is for lower thinking and I didn't get you. Sorry. Hello. Okay. Did someone ask me something? Okay.
Yeah, maybe someone just spoke by mistake.
Okay, yeah, okay. Even I thought.
Yeah, you're going to give us this slide, I mean this material?
Yeah, definitely, yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So Purusha is consciousness, Prakriti is the nature, and from the evolute starts, the third is Mahat, Buddhi. That is the first principle of individualization, that is the higher intelligence. From there, the evolutes, the Mahankara starts, the ego, the self-identity starts, the I-ness, and from there, the Manas, the lower mind, that is a rational mind. So before we move on to the rest of the 20 elements, we will just quickly go over Buddhi and Ahankara in brief. So the first evolute of the out of this churning of gunas is Buddhi, the intellect, or Mahat, the great one. So the Mahat or Buddhi represents the principle of intellect or discrimination Buddhi, say the discriminating factor where the Mahat starts. So Mahat or Buddhi is the first principle which the Purusha or seers witnesses. So for example, when I say Purusha and Prakriti, the simple thing to say is the Purusha is just a seer. It doesn't have any act or action to do it. It's just a seer. And Prakriti is the scene. It's a bit heavy subject to understand, but just try to get just a gist of it. Probably if you have a more want to learn more, then let me know. Then I have a few things that I can share with you later. Okay, so now ahankara arising out of buddhi projected from its ahankara is a self-identity. So bringing along with that I-ness, mine, those kind of things starts from ahankara. That's can have the self-love, self-conceit, self-pity, me, mine, all these in number 4, that ahankara. From the lower manas, the rational mind comes into picture. Actually, Sankhya says the manas is not also 5. They say they group all the 16, including manas, into the lower prakriti. So, because the next stage of evolution from out of ahankara, the 3 emanates of group of 16 elements in set of 2, that is 11 and 5. So I'll explain one by one. So those 16 elements are nothing but various transformations of ahankara. So again, the ahankara, there is a sattva, rajas and tamas. Don't worry about those. We are going to go over in detail about those 3 gunas later. So this means the evolution stream till ahankara was vertical. So you can just say prapurusha, prakriti, mahat, ahankara. It was a vertical stream. From that ahankara, it turns into horizontal stage of ahankara. So that's where the evolute starts. So that's when this becomes a lower evolutes, because it starts into explain to the next stage, probably you will understand better. So the first set of 11 evolutes comprises manas, mind, and 5 buddhi indriyas, jnanendriyas, that is indriyas of cognition: hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling. That is the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. So these are the jnanendriyas. And the 5 karmendriyas. Karmendriyas are the 5 organs of action, or rather the functioning of these 5 organs: speech, apprehension, locomotion, excretion, and procreation. That is hands, feet, speech, excretory organ, and organ of generation. And 5 tanmatras. The 5 tanmatras are sound, touch, vision, taste, and smell. And 5 mahabhutas, or the 5 building blocks of nature. That is earth or solids, water or liquid, fire or transformation, air or gas, including breath, and prana, space or void. So this is the 16 evolutes of the 25 elements of Sankhya. So this is probably I can share this if you are want to know more. There are a lot of things that you can even Google it and find it out. This is interesting subject to learn, very deep, but probably if you start learning now, you will understand in 5-6 years later. So okay, so now this is elements of Sankhya. So now we are moving to the next topic. Before I move on to the next one, I just want to know, do you have any questions on this? I don't think you will be having questions for now, because it's I don't know whether you understood. Any questions before I move on? Okay.
No, please. That's good.
Okay, fine. Okay, so now we'll just go basic on other philosophies. So Charvaka, Buddhism, and Jainism. So what is the difference between those Shad Darshanas? These are the 6 orthodox schools and other philosophies. The Shad Darshana schools believes in Vedas. So they are right from Vedas. So these schools doesn't believe in Vedas. So those comes under other philosophies. So we are going to just go brief to understand what is, because these are all existed in with those periods. So we have to understand what it is. So first we will go on to Charvaka. Charvaka origin is India, and its founder is Brihaspati. So what is their philosophy is, Yada Jivam Sukham Jivet, Rinam Kritvam Gritam Pibet. So as long as you live happily, borrow money and drink tea. So this is their philosophy. So obviously you will understand the points better once you understand this philosophy. Charvakas originated from char, which means to eat. So Charvaka philosophy is obviously an atheistic, materialistic, and hedonistic thought. Charvaka philosophy is called Lokayata. as it admits the existence of this world, Loka alone. They did not believe in any religious or moral duty. They did not believe in the authority of Vedas or any other scriptures. They did not accept the existence of soul and believed that the life and the consciousness was merely a combination of matter. Since they did not believe in the existence of anything other than physical being, they did not believe in any theory of afterlife. This meant that even the thoughts of sin or virtue were of no importance to them. So the purpose of life was enjoyment, as after death there was no further existence. So they believed just live happily, do whatever you want because you don't have to worry about karma or sin, nothing. Just borrow money, drink ghee, live happily, and die. So that's their philosophy. Now we will move on to the next slide. Buddhism. Buddhism, its origin is Nepal, and its founder is Siddhartha Gautama. As you all know, Siddhartha Gautama is born as a prince and raised in luxury. Renounced the world at the age of 29, and after 6 years of spiritual discipline, he achieved the supreme enlightenment and spent the remaining 45 years of life teaching. So we will see the four noble truths of Buddhism. They are dukkha. Dukkha is suffering exists. First, you have to understand there is suffering. So suffering is real and almost universal. Suffering has many causes: loss, pain, sickness, failure, impermanence of pleasure. It can be of anything. And the second is samudaya. There is a cause for suffering. Why there is a suffering? It is a desire to have or control things. It can take many forms: craving of sensual pleasures, the desire for fame, the desire to avoid unpleasant sensations like fear, anger, or jealousy. So there is a cause. And third is nirodha. There is an end to suffering. Suffering ceases with the final liberation or nirvana according to Buddhism. The mind experiences complete freedom, liberation, and non attachment. It lets go of any desire or craving. And the fourth is magga. In order to end the suffering, you must follow the eightfold path. So Buddha called this point as a midway, which is understood as a meaning, the middle way between such competing philosophies as materialism and idealism. So since he says the eightfold path, we just see what the eightfold path is. Samaditthi, so right understanding of four noble truths. Samasankapa, right thinking, following the right path in life. Samavacha, right speech, no lying, criticism, condemning, gossip, harsh language. And Samakamanta, right conduct, by following the five precepts. And Sama Ajiva, that is right livelihood, support yourself without harming others. Samavayama, so right effort, promote good thoughts, conquer evil thoughts. Samasati, right mindfulness, become aware of your body, mind, and feelings. Samasamadhi, right concentration, meditate to achieve a higher state of consciousness. And the five precepts, so believers are expected to use their own intelligence in deciding exactly how to apply these rules. These five rules are: do not kill, do not steal, do not lie, do not misuse sex, do not consume alcohol or other drugs. So these are the teachings of Buddhism. So next is the Jainism. Jainism origin is India. Founder is Lord Mahavira. So one of the oldest living religions of India. It's religion of purely human origin and is preached and practiced by one who has attained perfect knowledge, omniscience, and self-control by his own personal efforts and has been liberated from the bonds of worldly existence, the cycle of births and deaths. Such human beings are considered gods of Jainism. So the concept of God as a creator, protector, and destroyer of the universe does not exist in Jainism. So God's reincarnation as a human being to destroy the demons is not accepted in Jainism. Jainism does not believe in creator God, but it is not atheistic religion because it believes in many gods who are self-realized individuals and who have attained liberation. So they think who have attained liberation are as gods. And their philosophy is of five: non-violence, ahimsa, not to cause harm to any living beings; truthfulness, satya, to speak the harmless truth only; non-stealing, asteya, not to take anything not properly given; chastity, brahmacharya, not to indulge in sensual pleasure; And fifth is non-possession, non-attachment, aparigraha, complete detachment from people, places, and material things. So this is the things of Jainism. So today's topic is just very brief intro of this thing. From next class, we'll be seeing more yoga related, 4 parts of yoga, and we'll move on to asana, pranayama, and then kriyas and all those things from next week. So before we move on to, I just want to go over a quick review, and probably we can just have a question and answer if you have any. So first we saw Veda means knowledge. Vedas are 4: Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. And each Veda have a Upavedas, Vedas have Upavedas or 4: Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Arthashastra. And each Veda consists of 4 parts: Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishads, and Vedanta. Upanishads or Vedanta. And there are 6 Vedangas: Siksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, Nirukta, Jyotisham, and Kalpa. And Prasthanatraya, we saw Shruti Prasthana, Smriti Prasthana, Nyaya Prasthana. And 4 Mahavakyas: Prajnanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, Ayam Atma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Shad Darshanas. There are 6 orthodox schools: Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. And evolutes of Prakriti. Purusha, from evolutes is Prakriti. Prakriti have Mahagunas, Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. There, from there, the Mahat and Buddhi evolutes. From there, the Hankara. From there, Manas. And from there, the 20 further elements. So those 20 elements are 5 Jnanendriyas or sensory organs, and 5 Karmendriyas or organs of actions, and 5 Tanmatras or senses, and 5 Mahabhutas or building blocks of nature. And we just have a rough overview of other philosophies: Charvakas, Buddhism, and Jainism. So thank you. I'm just going to stop this screen sharing, and if you want, you can turn your video on, or you can just be just like that. If you have any questions that I can answer, and if I don't have an answer right now, I can definitely give it later or next class. Any questions, any feedback?